Hello, guys, and welcome to tonight's show. And I have a little bit of a problem. I said issue 23 was the. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I've turned the volume up on the other computer. I see it always cocks up. Everything will cock up. Right. Issue 23, I seem to recall saying that that was the best issue for me so far. And then last week, I said issue 24 was the best issue we've had so far. And now this week, issue 25, I think that's become the best issue we've had so far. But I can't confirm that yet because I've not built it. So, absolutely fantastic show lined up for you. So let's introduce our co-host, Horlicks. Hello,
Hello.
Horlicks.
Hello, everyone. How is everyone?
Brilliant. So, and we also have a special guest today. Now, we did a test run yesterday just to make sure the facilities were working. Sorry, I want to go on to me. Just to make sure that the facilities work. You probably see him on the screen already. I'm getting some feedback from somewhere. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I apologise about that. Now, the guy I've got lined up for you to see tonight, I think he's a fantastic guy. His knowledge level is fantastic. But after speaking to him last night, I can assure you this is the most interesting guy that you will ever meet. So I'm going to introduce to you Dave Say. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Thank you ever so much for the nice introduction.
No problems. I'm only speaking the truth.
Oh, I'm honoured.
So what I'm going to ask you guys is... oh, it looks like we may not actually have Dave up on video. Oh, we do have Dave up on video. Right. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you guys, if you could load up a few questions to speak to Dave about. I'll tell you what, just give us a 2-minute introduction about yourself, Dave. That would probably help, won't it? Okay. Show's all yours, Dave.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Well, I'm new to partworks. I'm new to Hachette building. I've got a collection of model buses. I am an ex-coach driver. I'm an ex-vintage bus owner. And I've been a bus enthusiast for more than 50 years. I've been to an awful lot of vintage vehicle and bus rallies. And when I saw this bus come out about 2 years back, there was a little thing on the internet, and I thought, I've got to have that, and I've got to be involved with that.
Fantastic. So glad you are involved. Right. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you guys is if you could just load up a few questions. We will, as per normal, we'll do the build first, which means, unfortunately, Dave, we're just going to have to sort of push you to the back a little bit. And we won't ignore all the questions. We will come back to them. But obviously, we'll do the build. That'll give you time to get some questions. Then we'll have a good old question and answers. We'll really grill Dave. So, shall we start the build then?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So, let me switch my camera so you can see what we've got. And I'm just really excited about this because this looks absolutely amazing today. Let me show you the picture we had. This is all we knew that was coming. And, you know, it looks okay. It looks a good little issue. So, of course, when I see all of this, oh, I thought Christmas had come early. So I'm really happy about that. So shall we check the parts first? There are some fiddly parts today, I notice. So I've got to be very careful. So I'm actually going to be using my screw pot as a small parts holder today.
Oh, good idea. There is lots of parts in there. It just makes you aware, doesn't it? When you look at that picture, it's just like last week as well. The picture didn't look all that, but when we actually did come to do last week's, there was loads to do.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's the picture, that's the parts. So yeah, I'm so excited about this.
Okay, so
with your help, let's go through the part list.
Okay, so 25A is an oil sump.
Okay, and that looks like I'm going to put it back into here. Now that's a metal part. Let me get a really good focus on that. There we go. Look at that quality. I'm really happy with the quality of these. And you can see that's metal.
Okay. Yeah, that looks brilliant. 25B, left crankcase.
Okay, it looks fairly plain, but obviously this thing's going to be built onto that, and that's metal as well.
Okay. 25C is the right crankcase.
That looks a bit more interesting. Again, that's metal.
Those details are amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
it just gets better every week.
Better, yeah. 25D, injection pump.
And that's a plastic part, but the detailing is still very good. I've got a little bit of flash on there, but nothing too much to worry about. I'm trying to be quite critical with this because it must get a bit boring saying, "Oh, this is fantastic" every issue. There you go, just a little bit at the top, but nothing to worry about there.
Right. Okay, so 25E is a fuel pipe.
Okay, and this looks quite flimsy, so be careful not to break it. It is plastic and it's quite flexible. It will take a certain amount of damage, but don't push it.
Right. Okay, 25F, we've got a fuel filter.
Okay, doesn't look anything like the fuel filter on my motorbike. There you go. And that's plastic.
Okay, 25G is a cap.
And I would guess that is the cap. Again, that's plastic.
Okay, 25H is steering fluid reservoir.
Looks like this. That's made of plastic. I will emphasize, just because they're made of plastic doesn't mean they're poor parts. I think when they're plastic, they're appropriately plastic.
Okay, 25I, power steering pipe.
There we go. And this isn't like the pipes we've been getting before. This is like a piece of plastic, like very similar to the 3D printer filament. So, and that feels like it's quite brittle. So again, be careful.
Okay, 25J is a cap.
Okay. I'm hoping that's this piece here. And that's plastic.
Okie doke. 25K, steering fluid indicator.
Ah. Okay. Now these I use a lot on modern buses. What we have is like for the water level, we press a button and there'll be a light, and then you'll see where the water level is. I assume this is the same. So there you go.
Okay, we've got 25L, a flywheel drive.
Okay, that's this one. Now, the last part was plastic, and so is this. This looks a slightly darker silver, sort of more a gunmetal silver. Okay.
Okay, and then 25M is a flywheel.
Okay. And
I've got what's plastic?
Yeah, that's plastic, and the same colour as the flywheel drive.
I was going to say, this is really impressing me, actually, because, sorry to change subject slightly, obviously doing the DeLorean build, when we built the engine, this flywheel obviously is part of the clutch system. So, or the, you know, the auto box, whatever, I assume that's what I'm thinking it is. And there was nothing like that. So that is really detailed.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so 25N, flywheel cover.
Okay. 25N, sorry, flywheel cover.
Yeah. Okay, and then 25O is a shaft.
Okay, one shaft.
25P, exhaust manifold.
Exhaust manifold.
Okay. 25Q is a flange.
And that is a no from me. I may have a missing part. I may have dropped apart.
25Q looks like what you picked up for 25J, which was the cap.
I just wonder if it might have bounced when I tipped them onto the table. Right. Okay, let's 2, 3 D E. Sorry, guys. F G H I J K L M N O. Right, I am missing a part.
Yeah, obviously, I think 25J, which is what you picked up, with the 2 pins either side of the square, that looks like 25Q. Okay, and then 25J looks to be possibly missing.
Right, okay.
Which is a cap of some description.
Now, there's 2 scenarios here. One is I've been a bit hasty when I tipped them out, and it's bounced. You know what plastic is like when it bounces. The second scenario is that I'm missing a part. So I'm having a quick look. So for the first time this summer, I'm sweating and not because of the heat. I hope it turns out because
it's such a small
I've done very well here on this build, and I wouldn't want it to fail now. Right, let's check the screw bags. Oh dear. Oh dear. Of course, having a messy desk doesn't really help. Right. Okay, I'm going to have to carry on without it. I hope we can manage. Because also, I don't know if I've got the parts muddled up. So I'll put the parts back that I know I've got. Let's do the checklist again. In case
would it be easier to count the parts?
Pardon?
Would it be easier to count the parts?
Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think.
Yeah, that's 25Q, I believe, by looking at what the picture
G
here.
that I'm missing then.
J.
G. Right, I'm going to call it G just for a part check. J. Because it could be J that I'm missing. That could be J. K. L. M. N. O.
Looks like man's on the end of one of the pipes. Looks like it's on the end of 25L. No, 25I.
Oh, I see, which is the black pipe.
The silver pipe.
No.
Yeah, that's it.
That's part of 25E. That's definitely
25A, yeah. Yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, it looks
Okay.
similar to that end, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I will try my luck with Hachette. I mean, I'm due for clean up on my desk at the weekend, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, shall we progress then?
Yeah. Okay. So, you need to fit the fuel filter 25F to the left crankcase 25B.
And I think this is the fuel filter, and the reason I think it's a fuel filter is because if you look at the connector there, got the same connector there.
Yeah.
So that's going to go on to there. Looks like it's going to go on at an angle.
Oh, I see. Sorry. I'm sorry. I've missed a step.
Oh, right. Okay. You're on page 2.
I went across, yeah. That's why I was saying about the fuel filter. But no, yeah.
Okay. Right. I'm not sure about that. That goes on at an angle. It's the only way I can get it on. But in the picture, it doesn't. But the picture is showing it like this. So it's hard to tell for sure. So then there's another angle. I think that is actually. I think I might have. I'm not going to jump in and say I've got a bad issue. But,
Excuse me.
it doesn't seem to be matching, but we'll see what happens. So that's stage 1 done, and that'll look like that.
Okay. Right, yeah. So it says, before I go on to the next step, it says study the diagrams and make sure you fit parts 25F and H in the correct sockets. Okay, so step 2 is fit the fuel filter 25F to the left crankcase 25B.
The left crankcase is the least interesting of the two. This one being the right. This one's the left. So you can see I'm calling that the least interesting. Excuse me. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. I always seem to have a cold since I moved to Wales. Okay, and we're going to be fitting this, and it's going to go into this hole there.
The raised hole, yeah.
Yeah, the two holes look exactly the same. Got one right in the corner and one a little bit more towards the middle. There's one in the corner and one more in the middle. And I'm gonna... Yeah, I can see now why they put the warning in. This will go into either hole, so do be very careful. And I'm going to fit that with a DP screw.
Yes.
There's only 2 bags of screws this week, DP and FM. I don't know why I'm using this screwdriver, it's just one that I picked up. Okay, so make sure you keep the screw level, running along. Screw it to, actually I'm not going to use that, it's not really that good. There you go, the small, were you having trouble with your Routemasters screwdriver, weren't you?
Yes, yeah, I was actually. But you've kindly helping me out with one.
Yes. There you go. I could probably screw that tight, but that's on nice and firm, so I'm going to be happy with that. Okay, that's what it's going to look like from the inside.
Lovely. Okay, so step 3 is to, in a similar way, fit the steering fluid reservoir and fix in place with a DP.
This has got bits going all over the place, but point of reference I'm using is this little bit here that goes up at 45 degrees. And again, it's got the same fixing as the previous part. So obviously that will only go in one way, but there's only one hole to go into because we've already filled one hole in. And again, that's going to be a DP screw. So I'm just supporting it with my finger. Make sure the screw goes in. Keep it level. This particular screw is trying to run around. So if it starts to move, just stop. Try not to have to come backwards because we are cutting the thread in. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's good.
That's on nice and firm. And be careful because these are plastic and now they're protruding, so they may, if you drop it, they may snap off quite easily. But, I'm happy with that.
Lovely.
Okay.
Okay, step 4. You need to fit the cap 25J on the top of the steering fluid reservoir.
Okay, and I can now see that it's 25J that's missing. Because, right, it's not very clear in the parts list, but once you look at the diagram, you can see it's a little bit more rounded. It's like more like a teapot lid.
Yeah, that's
And
quite a big size by the looks of the hole as well. If you look at the actual way it's going to fit, that looks like a big part.
Yeah, so it might well be that it's dropped out, but that's quite nice because it means it's not going to be a tiny part. It'll probably be on the carpet, and I put my foot on it, and it sticks to it. But this is why I don't chuck the bag straight into the bin.
On my issue, it was with the red flower wheel.
Right, which was round about there. Okay. I mean it is entirely possible that I was slightly too hasty when I tipped parts out, but I tipped the parts that way out, which means
Yeah.
parts would be. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you guys. That's the state of my desk right now, so it could well be in amongst those pots of paint. So,
what's that silver thing that was in that black bit? Have you got like a paint lid with a milk bottle lid with black paint?
oh, this you mean?
Oh, right, yeah. I saw that silver bit and thought, oh,
yeah. No, that's okay because that's quite standouty. So.
Yeah.
If I don't find the part, I'll speak to Hachette and say, because I found Hachette have been very good when there's been problems. I've not had a whole host of problems, but they've dealt with them quite nicely. And I'll just see what happens. I'll give them a call. I'll give it a couple of days just to make sure I've not mislaid the part. I do want to make sure I've mislaid it rather than just being hasty, and because they don't do spare parts, so they end up sending the whole magazine out.
right.
So, and let's be fair here, a lot of people have had small niggly issues, and I've not had any problems. So I might just be getting my fair share now.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Okay, do you want to move on to section 5?
5 now, yeah. So, oh no, we're still on 4.
We're still on 4.
Yeah, sorry, we need to fit, after you've done, well, we haven't got that part at the moment, but after that, fit the steering fluid indicator into the side of the reservoir.
You are right. Good spot there, Alex. So, it looks like... that's interesting. I can't see which way round. Oh, I see. It's actually any way up by the looks of it. In fact, that looks like a little bit of flash there. What do you call it when they have a little bit too much on? You look at it from the top, you see that there's the handle bit is surrounded by a square, and then this has got a square with a little bit coming out.
Yeah.
Does anybody have their issues and is able to confirm that?
I just think.
And then if you look at the detail there, it just looks like a spare bit of sprue that's come off a sprue, and then it's going to go any way up.
Yeah, just looked at mine, Penny, and I think you're absolutely right.
There we go, look. Where we're going to fit it, you see there's a square there with a hole, and there's a square there with a hole. And obviously it's only going to go one way because it wants to go across there. But whichever way round we put it, we've got this little piece of plastic just overhanging.
Yeah.
So I'll try it the other way round. So I'm going to make a judgment call. I'm just going to trim that. Because that you can see that I don't think that bit of plastic should be there.
No.
So,
it's a bit of flash, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'll just see where the line is there. I mean, I'm not encouraging people to do this unless they know what they're doing. And I'm just going to trim it there. And I think that looks a lot neater now.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah.
So doesn't seem to matter which way round it goes. We can put it that way, or we can put it that way.
And how does that part feel, being a push fit?
It's difficult to put in, actually. It doesn't seem to want to go in. Oh, there we go. You just have to give it a bit of a push it as far as it'll go, then push it a little bit further. But what I'm doing, I mean, I've got fingernails, so I've just put, you see, I put my fingernail just either side on the square, and then apply as much pressure as you want, but make sure it's even on each side. There you go, and that's, I mean, you could possibly get some small tiny pliers and apply a bit more, but I'd be happy with that. Now, the way this will work is that this will obviously be filled up with the power steering fluid, but this part there is actually a, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dave, this will be a clear tube. So obviously wherever the steering fluid is, it's going to run freely through there. So it will tell you how much is in there without you actually having to open it up.
Yeah, a sight glass,
Yeah, sight glass, that's it. We have them on all of our buses with the fluid on it, and because we put antifreeze in our fluids, so we've got a green liquid running through a clear pipe. And then you just shine a torch on it and you can see where the level is, and it has a minimum and a maximum. So that's basically it. Okay, so are we ready for stage 5?
Yeah, just before I do that, I've just noticed a few questions and things. We will get to the questions afterwards. Please don't think we're ignoring you.
No, that's fine.
Okay, yeah. So step 5, fit the power steering fluid pipe 25I into the socket at the base of part 25H. This is a push-fit connection. It says it may be advisable to hold the pipe in place temporarily with a little masking tape.
Okay, well, we'll see how that goes once we've fitted it. Now, there's only one way this can go, and you see there you've got a little downwards notch there, and that would correspond there. And then you've got all the main shapers here, and there's your little push-fit connector. And there's only one place we can put that, and that's in that hole there. So I'm going to just, excuse me. Okay, that's not, it's going in with a little bit of resistance. So I will masking tape that off, but I'm not going to masking tape it until the end, because I want to see what we're dealing with. I'm not confident about masking that to there. So what I'm thinking of at this stage is to perhaps find something to put into there. For example, I won't use this, but if I put a paint pot there and then masking tape the whole lot.
Or a suggestion, depending on how the rest of this issue pans out, you could always remove it and leave it somewhere safe until we need to.
That's another good option, yeah. But again, because I don't know where this particular issue is going, I mean, what's the point of me masking that off and then they say, oh, add this big bit there?
Yeah.
So, I'll wait till the end, so don't let me forget about masking that.
Okay.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying the football. I believe England were winning 1-0. That's all I know.
Good. I've put a bet on England to win. Just if I win, I'll get a bit of money.
Bet with a guy at work. I've told him that France will beat England in the final and Belgium will beat Croatia in the 3rd, 4th place playoff, and he's bet complete opposite to me. So far I'm a pound up.
I don't want to put a kibosh on it, but they're 1-1 at the moment.
Is it 1-1?
Yeah.
Oh, it just makes it more interesting, and England have just got to push a little bit harder.
Oh yeah, I can say.
They've got to earn their £50,000 a second.
Yeah. Okay, so we ready for step 6?
We are. Well, I am anyway.
Okay, so we need you need to take the injection pump 25D.
Yep.
And test fit that. Test fit it to the left crankcase 25B. Check you have the correct orientation. There are 2 protruding screw sockets on part 25D that fit into the corresponding holes on 25B. When it's in the correct place, fit it in place with 2 DP screws.
Okay, so looking at the magazine, the point of reference I'm using is this little bulgy bit there, which is this bit there. And we've got some dots along there, which is obviously going to be these parts here. So we can see that it's going to go in this way, which means that it's going to go. Now there's 2 screws. Oh, look what I've just found.
Look.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Oh.
Rewind,
Oh.
rewind.
Back to stage 4. Oh, can we have some love in the chat?
You can.
Right. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm happy because I didn't just throw everything across and leave it. Right, this is actually quite difficult. So what I'm suggesting here, obviously it does say to do it. This is the first part of the instruction. Right, guys, I'm going to actually remove this screw because I think trying to push that cap on with it attached, I'm going to risk snapping it.
Mm-hmm.
It is a tight fit, and it also means that what I can do is cheat a little bit, and I'm going to push it onto the table. There we go. That's gone straight in there. Now, I haven't actually removed the I forgot what that's called now. The fluid indicator. So, and I'm going to be extra careful because obviously I have cut the threads into here. So I want to follow the threads that I've already cut rather than, I don't know if I'll cut new threads, but I don't want to. So, again, being careful. And I don't like removing parts, but I think pushing that on with force with that attached, that's just a recipe for snapping it off.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, and then I'll just pop this part back on. I like this. It's not as flexible as the other black hose, but it's plastic rather than the hose. Oh, there we go. I'm so happy now.
Brilliant.
So going back to this part, which now doesn't contain any other parts from the issue. Right, so there's our screw holes. There is one there, but I think we don't need to worry about that. I'll tell you why in a moment. So there's 2 screw holes, and they're going to line up with those parts there. Now, remember we're keeping the dots up. Now I don't know if you noticed, but I deliberately tried to fit it incorrectly. It will go incorrectly, but it just doesn't feel comfortable. I can't really explain that. It just doesn't feel quite right. So, whereas if you put it this way round, it just feels more correct. And I mentioned that other screw hole. It's there, just poking out from the side.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to fix those with 2 DP screws. And as per the normal way that I do these, I'm just going to, oops, doesn't want to stay on. Come on. Right, so I'm just going to pop the first one in. I'm just going to pop it in just enough so it grabs. No more.
Have you used the washing up liquid, Penny?
No, because this is a plastic screw.
Oh, is it? Sorry, yeah.
EP.
I'm sorry. I thought you said something else.
I did actually think you deliberately asked that question as a trick question.
Well, yeah, I did really, yeah.
Yeah, see, that was it. So, both the screws are in just enough to grab, so we can just check the fit of that. It will rock a little bit. So, and then I'll just tighten a little bit on each. I mean, it is worth taking the time on this. I did have a comment on last week's video about the length of the video, and to be honest with you, we're not on a deadline for this. You know, if you want to get this issue done before the next issue, we've got 7 days to do it. You know, and looking at the length of the build last week, if I'd have done that, you know, just for myself personal, I probably would have done that in half an hour. So there really is no rush. You know, if you take 35 minutes to do a build that should take 20 minutes, so be it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm tightening that as far as it'll go comfortably, and that is on there solid. I was half expecting it to rock because it is on a bit of a curve, but there's no rocking. So I'm happy with that. Okay, you happy with that?
That looks
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just going to take a quick mute break because I am sniffing a lot and I really don't like sniffing on camera. So bear with me 2 seconds. Oh dear, apologies for that. Right, so I am most definitely back. So what should we do next?
Okay, so next you need to fit the cap 25G into the top of the fuel filter 25F.
And that will be this bit, and I know it's this bit. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that was lucky. I've got sticky fingers. Right, if you look at the part there, that's all we've got on the checklist. When we actually get to the instructions, you can see it's a much clearer picture. So I'm looking for, as a point of reference, it's kind of a flowery shape with two holes. And here we can see I've got 2 holes. I'm going to get it the same way round. There we go. We've got 2 holes, and it's kind of a round bit with extra detail on it. So that's going to go in. Oh, there we go. Right, we've got a small notch there. If you can see that there.
Oh yeah.
There. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now on this part there, we've got a small cutout. So it's not a complete circle. Just there.
Ah,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. And this is just reminding me of a stupid fun fact. Did you know the M25 is not a complete circle?
Is it not?
It is not.
I didn't know that.
I
thought it was. I thought that's why it's called the north, the circular.
It goes around in a circle, but there's a small section of about half a mile or a mile, which is actually a road, and it's not subject to motorway regulations. Oh. There you go. Totally useless random fact there. It just reminded me because that was almost a complete circle. Right, so what's next then?
That was step 6 done. So obviously, yeah, I think maybe be careful of that because when you fitted the other part, it's a very small little sentence at the bottom of step 6 to fit that. So it possibly may be missed. Okay, so step 7, take the fuel pipe 25E and test fit it to the left crank shaft assembly, and it says note the joint at one end of the fuel pipe circled is larger than the other.
Yeah. Right, the point of reference I'm using here, you see the pipe there, but you see there's a large part at the bottom. Not really at the bottom, it's just so it's going to go that way. And the other point of reference, this end, is going to go into there because there is nowhere else for it to go. And you know, tweezers are useless. Right, it's a tight fit, but that will go. Now this one, I noticed that this is like a keyhole shape. I did notice that earlier. This has got a circle with a little notch, or if you look at it that way, like a key. Yeah, do you see it?
Yeah, I get that.
And that's going to go in. I would suggest fit the key section first.
Yeah, that's a good idea, and that's the larger part as well, so you won't stress, put too much stress on the more fragile part.
Okay. Right, when you push this in, make sure you support it back there as much as you can. Push it in, like, so you see I've got my finger there. And then really push right in the middle. Don't come to one side. And it will kind of creak in. And push that as far as you dare. I can see a few people breaking that. And then I'll just finish off pushing that. Now, that is in. I don't think that is ever coming out of there. So make sure you do want that in when you fit it. If you need to remove it, take it out by the screws, but don't take one bit out because you'll have a lot of pressure on there. Okay, so that looks like the left crankcase finished.
Yeah, that's it for that part.
So we'll do some comparisons. That looks quite similar, and that looks lovely. Again, yeah, I've said this a few times. If I didn't tell you that these are plastic parts, you probably wouldn't notice. I don't think they need to be metal. They're perfectly fit for purpose.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I'm actually going to leave this. I'm not going to mask it because the box that I've got my chassis on is quite high up. It's about that big. So I think what I'll do is I'll put it inside the box. So the box doesn't get touched from day to day.
Oh, that's right then.
So shall we go on to section 8?
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to take the 3 flywheel pieces, 25L, M, and N.
Now I'm assuming that this is going to be visible because it's red.
Yeah, it says check the orientation as well.
Right, so we've got what looks like 2 screw threads, which I'm putting that in first, and then we've got, how do I describe this? It's a little bit like a cake tin with 3 holes in it. So I'm going to pop that in upside down.
Yeah.
And so it's forming a sort of a cake shape, a biscuit shape. Is that really bad description?
A UFO.
A UFO. And you've got the recess is going to go on the outside. So you've got the flat side here with 2 protrusions for the screw holes, and see how that goes in on that side, and it's flat on that side. This flat side is going to go into there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. And then it says get the oh god, got confused now. Hang on. When they're aligned as shown, push the 3 pieces together so the screw sockets on part 25N fit through the corresponding holes, which we've done. Then take the shaft 25O and fit through the center hole.
Okay, what I've just done is I've grabbed it hard by the bit with the hole, place it on, and twist it in, pushing down. And then that's going to be fixed in place with a single DP screw.
Use DP screw to fix the shaft, yeah.
Now, all 4 of these pieces are plastic, so we don't want to over tighten. And you see there, it's spinning that shaft, so we need to hold that. Focus more on the shaft than the pieces. And I don't know if these are supposed to spin, but they're not spinning. So that I'm happy with. That's in there tight. That's not coming out easily.
Okay, and I'm not I'm not sure if it's relevant or not. It looks like the shaft you put through, the actual flat part is level with the two holes. I don't know if there's any significance to that or not.
I think, right, okay, well, we'll do that, because if it's exactly the same as the magazine, it can't be wrong, can it? So there we go. So I've just tightened it about 1/4 of a screw, and then I'll just tighten it up. I suspect not, because I've had a little advanced look, and if you look at this is all
the same.
Yeah. Will this be a moving part in the actual Routemaster? I don't know if he can hear us.
Oh, I
Dave?
think.
Oh, yeah. I think he went off to. Will this actually be a moving part in the real Routemaster?
I wouldn't have thought so. No. In the real Routemasters. In the real Routemasters, yes.
Yeah, so there you go. It probably won't matter, because one day it'll be like that, the next day it'll be like that, another day it'll be like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, yeah.
Still have it level anyway, because we like neatness here, don't we?
Yeah. And then it says, finally, fix the flywheel firmly together using 2 DP screws.
Yeah.
Now, feeling how tight these are, I would say that these are probably just belt and braces, but once we fit these, we know they're not going anywhere. Oops, that's trying to spin round. Oh. I wonder if I've done that correctly, because that screw's not wanting to go in. Maybe I've not just pushed it hard enough.
Are the holes lined up?
Yeah, I'm going to have to double check. So let's... maybe this is more technical than I thought. Yep, they are. So I'm going to do a little bit of G. I think I might have actually screwed it in wrong. Well, I've actually undone the hole on the shaft screw. Sorry. Okay, that's it.
Hello, Ian.
Hey, Ian. Right. So what I've done on this one is I've ended up taking this middle screw out and just pulling the red bit off. Sorry, not the red bit, the 25L, and just actually looking where the screw hole is, so that way round, and just lining it up just enough so that it grabs. Then I'll pop this shaft back on, and now the shaft doesn't do well. Oh dear. There we go, shaft's on. So now we're happy that that's lined up. I think this is, I'm trying to put this in an angle. So be very, very careful, because if that goes in an angle, I have actually, I've actually sent that off level just ever so slightly. Don't think it'll ruin the whole build, but obviously we want to try and make this as perfect as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm just tightening that until it stops. That's fine. I could probably tighten those up a bit more, but oh, there we go. The shaft needs a couple of extra screws. Just loosen it off half a turn. Oh, there we go. Just get that level. There we go. That's not going anywhere on its own. Okay, there you go. That looks quite nice and piece now, doesn't it?
Excellent.
Brilliant. Okay, so once all that's together, so we need to check that the flywheel rotates on part 25.0. If this is stiff, loosen the DP screw that was used to fit the flywheel parts to the shaft.
Right.
So yes,
Okay.
it does have to move.
Excellent. So we have a new moving part. So about an eighth of a turn. How stiff do we want this?
It just says if stiff, loosen. Just loosen it.
Right. I mean, would you say that's too much?
No, I think that would be all right.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, if that's going to just be a hand, it's confusing. I mean, I'm not sure why that needs to move unless it moves with the wheels of the bus when you push it along, or
what you've got is you've got this. This is attaching the three parts there together, and then all that screw is doing is just attaching to the shaft. But what I've just been doing is I've been twisting it to try and see if I can get that screw to come out. And I'm not succeeding. So yeah, that's fine.
and perhaps a belt would go around that as well. Has it got like a
that's
groove?
What I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so yeah, now that's loosened. You need to align the screw eyelet in part 25.0 with the screw socket at the end of the oil sump 25A.
Right. Okay. Now, my point of reference is we've got a protruding bit on this side. We've got two screw holes there that are close together and two screw holes there that are further apart. And it's this front one there. We've got notches on both sides. So it looks like something will eventually, well, obviously something will eventually go onto there. But we want these two screw holes that are closer together. And that's going to go onto there. And let's just do a check. Yeah, it's not a good fit. You see, it's not that good if you put it on the wrong side.
Yeah.
But if you put it onto this side, that's a nice fit. So, you know what's coming next, don't you?
Yes. So you need to fix that in place with an FM screw.
Which means that I need my 60p bottle of washing up liquid.
Oh, I am shocked, Penny.
I've got it ready. I am actually going to steal your idea.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say. I'm shocked you haven't already done that.
Well, I didn't want to do a blatant thievery, you see. I wanted to ask your permission.
Don't be so ridiculous.
And I am actually going to use one of these bottles, but equally, now the problem with these bottles is that if you buy them as a single bottle, obviously by the time you've paid postage, they're going to get quite expensive. So, and if you go into a model shop and buy an individual one, they're quite expensive. If you buy like a box of 50 or 100 from one of these Chinese places on eBay, they'll work out about 5 or 10p a bottle. If you went and bought that from a hobby shop, it's about £1.
And if you vape, you've already got one. When you finish your vape, you just wash it out. That's where mine came from.
Yeah. So some kind of dropper bottle. And to be honest with you, this would be more economical because obviously this isn't the screw we're going to do. But rather than me dipping the screw into there, you see how much I poured out? You know I'm going to waste some of that. All you'd need to do with the bottle is just apply a dot, maybe just on the corner of your screw pot, you know.
And I suppose there's nothing wrong with maybe, it depends how much it comes out, you could actually put a dot on the actual screw hole so that it can penetrate the hole.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean actually pop the dot into there?
Yeah. I can't see why not.
Right.
But
so
it's
for now,
something to, something to experiment with, because then you can give us feedback and let us know if it's easier or.
Well, I have said before that I'm not going to go out and say. Well, last week I said I'm not going to go out and say that washing up liquid is the best because I hadn't tried it for long enough. But what I did say last week is that I've had some problems without the washing up liquid, and I've had no problems with washing up liquid. But I am now prepared to say that washing up liquid is definitely the best method. So thank you to the Daves. Oh, yeah, sorry, I've got my focus up here because this is where I'm trying to work. So I'm going to pop the flywheel in there. I've got my screw, and I've just popped a little bit of washing up liquid on it. There you go, and pop that into there. Just give it a couple of turns just to grab it, and then I'm going to turn that gently. Oh, I do like my screwdriver. Oh, Horlicks, do you remember you gave me a tip? This screwdriver actually comes with a little pocket bit to attach
Yes.
to the pocket. Remove it. It's so much easier to use without it.
Yeah, that's what I found.
It just clips off. I don't even know if I've still got it. I probably threw it in the bin.
I stripped both of mine, yeah.
Yeah, it's so much easier to hold.
But I'm sorry to say, Penny, I am really sorry. Mine are just redundant now because that new set I bought is absolutely fantastic.
Brilliant.
So I will trial it on the Routemasters, but because I haven't had an issue since I've had that set. But for everything else I've used, needed a screwdriver for this week, it's been absolutely brilliant.
I'm not 100% happy with this. This is on nice and tight, but this, you see, this is quite loose. But I'm not going to do anything about it until I've built everything else around it.
Maybe tighten that centre screw up just a tad.
Yeah.
Maybe just a quarter of a turn, if that.
Yeah.
See, I don't know how loose or tight it needs to be, but I know how to fine tune it now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll leave it as it is. I'm not happy because I don't know. That's the problem. It's not because it's a bad issue or anything. I just don't know what's coming next. Once I know what's coming, if it turns out that this is too loose or too tight, it might be that something will go on to this or near it to turn it, and it'll run absolutely perfectly. It's just because there's nothing else supporting it that it's loose.
I'm wondering if there's going to be. I didn't see anything on the on anything, but I'm wondering if there's going to be like a motor or something we're going to put on that's going to run a load of things. I don't know. It's exciting. If it doesn't, I'm sure I can rig one up.
You're getting me so excited now, Horlicks.
Okay, so step 10.
And that's the finished view for that. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. No. I apologise. Sorry. That's all right. That's 1-1 then, because you jumped ahead on one of the early
I know.
pages.
Yeah.
So that's 1-1.
Yeah. Step 10. Oh, if anyone interested, it's 1-1.
Don't know.
And they've got extra time. They've got extra time going on.
I see.
Okay, yeah, so align the tabs on the right crankcase with the sockets on the centre of the oil sump.
Right, so you've got two screw. Ooh. Okay, I see. Right, so you've got three screw holes. What we're looking at is the one that we haven't used there, and the first one of these larger ones. Yeah. So from this section, that screw hole and that screw hole. Now, with this at the front, we're working away from us, and you see there we've got the hole with a little border around it, and they're going to go into there. Yeah. So these protruding bits will go in. Once it's in, see, it's not going to move. and that will line that up perfectly.
Okay, and then you need to fit those into place with 2 FM screws.
Okay. Just having a bit of a worry. I've got too many DP screws left over. 1, 2. I should have counted them at the beginning, shouldn't I? Right, so 2 DP screws. So the first one, I shall just dip in the washing up liquid, and I shall attach any side.
Did you say DP? FM?
FM screw. Sorry, I meant FM.
That's all right, as long as you've got the right one.
You know what? I'm not going to use this screwdriver because you see where it goes fatter. It's pushing against there. So try and find a long, thin screwdriver.
And that's where my new set would come into play, because it's got an extension. I know, I love it. I love it.
No, I've just put that on just so that it's fastened. You see?
Sorry, I do promise to shut up about my screwdriver.
No, don't. We'll see if we can get a kickback from that when we promote it to everyone and everyone goes out and buys one.
Love Minis is telling you off. Love Mini says focus, Penny, focus.
Alright, there we go. So that is going in. This is actually the wrong screwdriver. That's not the best one to use.
That looks like a D'Agostini one.
It is a D'Agostini one. It's the Millennium Falcon
one. Yeah. I've got the same ones for R2.
I'm going to have to use that because I've got no other. This is the best one I've got. It's just because my whole room is a mess. Since I got this 3D printer, everything has just gone.
Yeah, I shouldn't have helped you, should I? I should have said, right, tidy your room like a good girl before I help you with your printer.
Oh, you sound like my mother there.
No, but no, that's what I should have done.
I remember when I was young and I'd be sitting there on a Sunday morning, I'd go, Mum, I'm bored. She'd go, how bored are you? I'd go, very bored. She'd go, right, go and tidy your room then, that'll give you something to do. And I'm like, no, I'm not that bored.
I used to do mine out of choice. I used to love moving my furniture around and stuff. But I'd always do it at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah. That is on tight, there's no movement. I'm sure with your screwdrivers I'd get an extra turn out of it. Oh, there we go. Look, best screwdriver in the world. Look, the Hachette one that came free. There you go. That's solid. And it looks like, I'm going to guess that that's going to go on there, so that will add extra strength. That's just a guess. This is speculation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is actually obviously that completes this issue this week.
That's getting meaty now, isn't it?
Do you know what? I could just go on.
Yeah. I'm really liking this.
It looks really good.
I love it. So,
where's that going to fit in the chassis, do you think? Well, I suppose it'll be obviously at the front.
It's going to go over the front wheels, isn't it? It has to. So it's going to go.
There isn't any.
These are the front wheels, so it's going to go about there. Oh, sorry, focus.
The other way around.
I knew that, really. I was just testing you guys.
So I've got a silly question as well.
Is it that way? So this goes at the back then, does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shows how little I actually know. So it's going to go something like... I'm looking at this picture in this magazine. You can see there's the front wheel, there's the engine. But it's going to go in that engine. So it must go... Oh, hang on. These are all designed to be worked at from underneath, aren't they? You literally undo something, drop a bit out, put a new bit in and then work on it when you've got time. So would it go something like that?
No.
No?
Over the axle.
It
That's
will
it.
go over.
That's it.
Yeah,
So
that
the
looks
bonnet's
right.
going to on it there then, is it? Just looks like... Oh, what? Yeah, oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I can't picture it, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, over the axle.
Well. I have faith. This part work has obviously been tested. So it must work.
Well, so I've got a silly question. I want to
Yep.
know, because I'm not an expert on buses, to be honest. How come, like a lot of those, like the early buses, like the Routemasters and that, the engines were at the front, but like the modern buses that we got now, the engines are at the back. Is there a significance to that, or is it just how it panned out?
Right. Go for it, Dave. Go for it, Dave.
Okay. Evolution. Simple evolution, really, and the fact that mostly your front-engined buses were rear entrance buses, which meant that the driver could only do one job, and that is drive, and you had to have a conductor on board the bus to conduct and collect all the fares. And it's a simple case of evolution, really. One-man buses came along in the very early 60s. There is, in the Manchester Transport Museum, there is a prototype double-decker bus, which is actually the first front entrance bus to be produced. And there was two of them, and one got destroyed, and there's one left in the Manchester Museum. And that happened in the late 50s, very early 60s, by the time they got all up and running. And it's just a simple case of one-man operated bus means one-man operated, so one set of wages. And the idea was that it could be done just as quick, really, with one person as it could do with two.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah, I was going to say it was to do with they've got the engine at the front, so that you're right there. Yeah, that's why it makes sense. Adrian Langley's just said that the axle's upside down, which has now given us more room for the engine. That's why the engine seems so high up, because I had that upside down. Thank you for that, Adrian. I feel a complete noob now. That's going to sit something
good
like
spot,
that.
because I didn't spot that.
Yeah, it's my camera focus. You wouldn't have spotted it. So this probably explains why we haven't been putting the front wheels on yet, because this is going to attach to the front, and then we'll put it all in, I would guess.
Yeah.
Well, I'm confident that's going to go onto there, so I'm just going to push that on gently, just for ease of storage. And I'm even going to go as far as saying that that's going to go in there eventually, but I'm not going to put it in. So that's how I'm going to store it for this week. And I'll lay it down like that in the box. We're starting to get lots of little parts, which is ever so slightly frustrating, because obviously we want to build it all up. But that's the way it is, and I'm sure that they've done it the best way that they can. So, no questions have come up apart from PO 61C70. Apologise for leaving that. Let me change my camera angle. Right, the screw pots are bagged up to go. I apologise. I had a bit of a bad week last week, and I didn't get anything done. I don't have my list to hand, but I know that 3 of the winners were Love Minis, Dave Say, and Izzy, I can't remember her name. Izzy Harris, is it? and there was 3 others, and I've got them bagged up, ready to go. So they'll be sent out by the end of this week. So I apologise for not sending them out sooner.
That's fine.
So we have no questions come up so far. I guess what's going to happen is that nobody really knows what to ask you. So
No, that's fine.
what I'll
That's
do is,
okay.
yeah, I'm sure they'll come up with questions as we ask questions. So if I may be the first, I'm going to ask you the obvious question. You're up to part 20. Have you built part 25?
No, I've built 24,
Right.
and I've got 25 today, but I've not built it.
Right. So of your 24 parts that you've built, what are your favourite and least favourite parts?
Oh, now that is a super question to ask, really. My favourite part probably hasn't arrived yet, because I'm more of a body person more than anything else. Because I love the shape of the bodies and everything else, and especially the rear platforms and the cabs and all that malarkey. But I suppose if I've got to pick a favourite, it's got to be the wheels. And I know that sounds silly, but to me, if a wheel looks right on a bus, especially a model, then it makes the whole model. And from a bus enthusiast point of view, they've got to get the wheels right. And I think they've pretty much done that, especially with the front wheels. The back wheels, I think they've not got them quite right, but I am happy with them.
Right.
But the front wheels, especially with the little AEC badge and the wheel nut ring, etc., I think they've just got it spot on, and the tyres too.
So it's a little bit like one of the other hobbies that I do is I paint figures, and one of the things that we say is that you can have an absolutely fantastic figure, but if you don't get the base right, it can destroy the whole model. The base can make or break the whole figure.
Yeah, and I think the least favourite, I think is probably everybody else's least favourite, and that is doing the front axle,
Really?
especially with them very difficult springs. Yeah, them very difficult springs. I actually had no problem whatsoever building it up. But the springs themselves, I've seen an awful lot of people complain about them, and I could see why. So that's probably my least favourite, is the front axle.
Yeah. So is it too early to ask you the same question, Horlicks?
My favourite, yeah, I think so. I mean, to be fair, so far, I need to just get my books because I've forgotten where I'm at. I'm only up to issue 6. But I think I said last week, my favourite, I've got 2 favourites so far, and that was, for me, 5 and 6. Which was assembling all the suspension, and I think it was 2 things. One, there was a lot involved, and you really had to be careful because obviously there was different screws. You could assume that it was the same screw for all of the parts, but you had to be really careful because they did change the screws. So I think on one part you had to put like an FM in one side and a different type in the other, and I just really enjoyed the technical side of that. There was a lot to do. You had to really use your brain, take your time. It wasn't a case of just chucking 2 bits together and so I think so far that was my favourites, because that's all I see. 5 and 6 as all one. It was all aiming towards one unit, so
yeah.
So Dave, we had a chat yesterday, quite a lot of things we covered, and one of the things that interested me, you said about community transport.
Yeah.
Could you tell us what community transport is, why it exists, why it's important, and what you used to do within community transport?
Okay. Well, we actually organised, ran, and physically made a community transport scheme in the rural area from nothing. We actually sorted it out from absolute zero, out of our own pockets, and because there was a pure need in the area for the elderly, the disabled, the lonely, and care homes, outings and day trips and shopping, and essential doctors and hospital appointments, really. And people were being pretty much fleeced by the fact that the taxi companies and people who were using cars were taking quite a lot of advantage of some people by charging them an awful lot of money to just go a few miles down the road. And in most cases, there wasn't the transport there. So we set about how do we make a charity? How do we make a transport charity that could be all and everything to everybody as much as we possibly could? And it took us an awful long time and an awful lot of head scratching to actually get it off the ground. And without going into far too much detail, which we've got time for here, we eventually got it off the ground. And we had 5 minibuses. And then 5 minibuses were adaptable for people in wheelchairs or the elderly or the disabled, and people are also for people who wanted to go shopping. And primarily, with it being a rural, isolated area, people used to shop for a week or even a fortnight. So obviously, they would get an awful lot of shopping. So we catered for that in the buses.
Yeah.
We was fortunate enough to get a lottery grant, 2 lottery grants actually. And we was fortunate enough to get a lottery grant in 2000, where we actually specified our own 2 minibuses and spent a grand total of £160,000 doing it, thanks to the lottery. There was 2 16-seat minibuses, but to our specification, and there was nothing like them, not even in this area or in any other area, that was such a high spec. You see, when you buy a minibus, you buy it to a price. Well, we took the price out the window and we said, we don't want to build it to a price, we want to build it to a specification.
Right.
So, and that's why they ended up so expensive. But there was all and everything to everybody, and we could cater for any eventuality. Of course, there was top spec, and they had, nice seating and nice windows and air conditioning and all that sort of thing. And, there was very, very good indeed. And in 2009, we had some unfortunate catastrophe. And it happens to any transport operator nowadays, and that is the fact that we had one minibus that was not set on fire, but it actually burst into flames whilst coming back to the yard. Thankfully, there was nobody on board apart from the driver.
Yeah.
But from a charity point of view, it was so soul-wrenching that we said we didn't know whether to carry this on or not. And it was so difficult getting the insurance sorted and finding another minibus and finding the volunteers to run it. And, so we said, well, what we'll do, we'll move all our passengers, all our runs, contracts, and we'll move them all onto some other community transport scheme in the area, because there wasn't any when we started. And we'll retire from the job. Now everything's up and running. And that's what we did. We retired in 2009, and the other community transport schemes that we gave our membership to and our contract are still going to this day. So we must have done something right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. Yeah.
From obviously a bus driver's point of view, I've learned how important it is to have some kind of transport, and of course, the bus companies will look at it from a profitable point of view. So if they're running Mrs. Smith is just going shopping once a week, and that's all they're getting, then obviously they're going to look at cutting that route. So things like community transport is so important. I did actually volunteer,
and that's where we stepped in.
Yeah, I did actually volunteer with a community transport group once, based in Bristol. And I remember I had a regular lady, twice a week she used to go to the gym. And it was a choice of use community transport or use a taxi. And like you said, taxi's so expensive, she just wouldn't be able to afford to go. And I must admit, when I first started taking her, I didn't really see the importance of it, but once I started talking to her, if it was just getting her out of the house twice a week, that is an absolutely fantastic thing.
Right.
And the number of old ladies I've had. I mean, I remember one lady in Bristol on one of my service buses, and she used to get the bus pay her. I mean, this is before we had free transport, but she used to get on the bus. She used to pay her fare, and she used to go two stops down the road. And I actually said to her one day, I said, "It's not very far. Why do you get on the bus just for two stops?" And she says, "Well, if I didn't do that two stops, just to go and get a pint of milk or something," she said, "I wouldn't get out of the house. I do nothing all day." And it was just so important for her to do something. So great stuff.
We was fortunate enough to attain the Duke of York Community Initiative Award for effort and endurance in the community, and that is an award that you don't gain lightly. You gain that because of pure work in the community, and you have to be all on everything really. And we was a complete lifeline, like you were saying about the lady there. We was a complete lifeline to all our members, and still to this day and age, we still know people in the local community that still thank us all these years later for what we did for 20 years.
Yeah. And of course, it's pioneering because most areas have some kind of community transport now. Go back 20 years, there was a lot of areas that were just isolated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it does come in. Obviously, once you get to pensionable age now, you get free bus passes, and we've seen a rise in the number of older people using the bus because obviously they get the free travel. It does upset me a bit when the other drivers are complaining, "Oh, we're only going one stop." It's like, but hang on. All right, we don't make as much money from it as fare-paying customers, but we're making money from it, so therefore they're making our wages. They're contributing to the numbers. But most importantly, they're getting out of the house, I mean, we're all going to be old one day, and we're going to rely on our free transport. If we just go one stop.
Come on. Yeah. It's like you were saying though, that one stop could be an absolute lifeline to that person of seeing somebody once a week.
Yeah. And just as importantly, if you start getting out of the house to do this one stop, people now know you exist. And then one day you may not do that one stop.
Yes.
People start saying, "Oh, Mrs. Smith hasn't been out today. I wonder if she's all right."
Yeah.
And it's a little early warning system.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you do? I think you mentioned about engines, didn't you?
Me, Penny.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Well, engine.
Tractors and things. Yeah.
Oh, my hobbies.
Yes. Yeah. I'm probably getting too much information out of you in one show, and
that's
if we bring you on again, we'll have nothing left. But
that's absolutely fine. No, I'm absolutely enthralled with all and everything that's vintage or farming or buses or cars or lorries. I absolutely love vintage everything, and I have a small collection of vintage stationary engines, Petter engines in particular, and I have a small collection of, you can see behind me, some model buses, and then of course I've got this lovely Routemaster here that we're doing. I'm doing a scratch build 1920s Leyland Lion. I think that's behind me also too somewhere, and I'm hoping to do perhaps two Routemasters, and one in a livery that's local to us, the East Yorkshire Motor Services livery, the old livery, because they actually had some Routemasters in the 1980s and 90s, and it brings back happy memories to me, does that, because my dad, bless him, he was an absolute keen bus nut, thoroughly. They called him Mr. East Yorkshire, actually.
yeah.
He took photographs of buses, he wrote down numbers of buses, he drove buses for a living, he had a bus of his own, or several buses of his own, you know, so it rubbed off on me, obviously. And I'll be doing both the Leyland Lion and the Hachette Routemasters in his memory, really, especially the East Yorkshire one. And I'd like to eventually get 3 or 4, or even maybe more, 112 scale models, and probably display them at shows and rallies in the future, if I live long enough. If the Lord above gives me the good grace to live long enough, then I'll probably do it.
Love Minis has asked, what's the oldest thing that you have?
The oldest thing?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The oldest thing that I have.
Apart from your dentures.
Well, yeah, I'm as old as my tongue, but older than my teeth.
Yeah.
They say in Yorkshire.
Yeah, I've heard that saying a lot.
The oldest thing that I have. Well, that's a very difficult question, but the oldest engine that I have dates from 1943, which is a wartime engine, and it was actually sent over on D-Day, on the D-Day landings, to France, and it was used to pump fuel from the Pluto pipeline, and incredibly, it was sent back to good old Blighty after the war, and after the Second World War, and it was decommissioned and put in a corner somewhere in some military barracks, and in 1970 they decided to rebuild this engine, and it didn't turn a flywheel then until I actually bought it off a friend of mine for a silly amount, about £30 I think it was, not knowing the history until I actually researched it, and I will never part with that engine now.
So that was pretty much a massive gamble which paid off.
Yeah. Well, that's a 1943 engine that I have.
Wow.
So not very old. I have a son. I have a son that collects engines as well, and he has stationary engines. He has Lister stationary engines, and they date back to about 1915. onwards. So that was one of his earliest ones, is 1915.
Wow, that's
1915.
really old. Yeah. That's what, 103 years old?
Yeah, 103 years old, yeah.
Older than my granddad. Wow. So, does anybody else have any questions that they would like to ask?
Well, in fact, I was going to ask a question, but Dave's already answered that when he introduced himself at the beginning, which was why he decided to do the Routemaster. Like whether it's because it was just because of the build, or whether it was it was because of the bus itself. But no, I've got a quick question regarding to issue. I think it was issue 2.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to find out because I've already had asked Penny. When you had to put those strips on the bonnet,
Yes.
with red little tight screws, did you have any issues with those screws? Because a lot of mine, as Penny know, just fell through the holes rather than screwing in.
Yeah. I actually didn't have any issues whatsoever. But at the time, I was involved in a online forum, and they some of the guys on there did, and some people have been putting pins in place of the screws, and super gluing the pins and the strips on,
Right.
and making it look like rivets rather than screws, because obviously the screws look a bit unsightly to some people. On my second Routemasters I'm going to make, I'm going to actually use the pin idea and make it look as though they're rivets rather than screws. And I'm going to use that idea as much as possible on the build to make it look as real as possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It may be an idea to probably get another wing, because I know that problem is very rare. I certainly didn't have any problems with it on my first build. I don't know whether I will on my second one or not.
I think I had about 5 or I think I had 5 or 6 screws that I lined up, went to screw in, but then they just literally fell through the hole as if the holes were too big.
Yeah.
But obviously, going back to the pin idea, making it look like rivets. I mean, I'm not really. I don't know much about it, but I'm wondering if you can actually buy rivets that are small enough to use, like with a rivet gun.
I suppose you could, but I don't know whether the metal will actually stand that or not.
Right.
Whether you'd actually bend something, putting the rivet in, because it does actually take quite a bit of effort to put a rivet in something, doesn't it? So that would be my only question there, and whether you could actually get them that small. And this is why I think people are using dressmakers pins or similar items.
I think in the end, those effective screws, I actually put a dab of super glue from the other side, underside, just to make sure that I don't think they're going to go anywhere. But it was just wondered if it was a common thing.
Yeah, no, as far as I'm aware, it's an uncommon thing about the holes. I have heard of it before, that people have struggled with them screws, and I think it's a case of they don't like the screws, and they've had 1 or 2 issues with the holes being a bit bigger.
Right.
But other than that, mine's been okay up to now, touch wood.
Okay, that's brilliant.
I know a lot of people had complaints about the kick plates on the stairs, and they were replacing those with pins as well.
Yeah, I must admit. I mean, I've got mine here, and like it's just the screws are huge in comparison to the scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
rather
they
big.
are. Yeah.
Right, so I'm going to finish the show up with one more main question and then one small question. Dave, let's pretend to go fast forward into the future, and we're
Okay.
coming to the end of the Routemaster build.
Yeah.
And Hachette says to you, Dave, we want to do another part work. Whatever you decide we're going to do is what we're going to do. What are you going to choose?
Well, that is a super big question, and I like questions like this because it gets my. I think Horlicks said about OCD and things like that. Well, I'm a bit opposite with that. When I'm faced with a big question like that, from a bus enthusiast point of view, it's very difficult to pin one down unless you've got a personal favourite. And I've got a personal favourite, I suppose, and that's got to be the bus that actually was before the Routemaster, and that would be the RT, the ACRT, London Transport ACRT.
Yes. I think we've seen that in the magazine at some point.
Yes, yeah, you have, yeah. And if it had to be a personal favourite, it would have to be what's called to me, a roof box RT, which is like just slightly after the war era or during the war era when the RT came out, the very first RTs. And they had a roof box in the upper deck roof with numbers in number bland. And that's how you would distinguish an early RT. And so that to me would be the choice that my OCD part of me is wanting to do. My bus enthusiast part of me is wanting to do something Leyland, and that would have to be Leyland Titan, the PD2s in particular, because that's a favourite of mine as well. And if I had to have a choice between the two, I couldn't really split them because I like both of them just as much. So,
I've actually got a picture up, of the RT.
Yeah, I've got it displayed on the stream. I don't know. I know Dave. Yes,
I can't see that now.
Yeah.
I can't see that,
but by the description with the roof box with the numbers in, I think this is the one. It's an RT593.
So how are you changing those numbers? Because I mean, I remember. I mean, I've been driving buses now 16 years, and the buses we had were the old little handles.
Yeah.
You'd have to turn the handle, and then you'd have to click another handle, and then you'd move that handle, and that would move the middle number.
That's right.
Would you move that number from the upstairs deck?
From the upstairs, inside the upstairs deck. Yeah, the conductor would have done it.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it conductor's job?
Yeah. Yeah, there we are. I can see the bus now.
Wasn't it the driver's job to go and get the fish and chips?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I've not seen one of these buses before, but it's got like quite an angle on the top deck there, hasn't it, at the front?
Yeah.
Like compared to most of the buses, all the buses I've seen.
Aerodynamic, isn't it?
More vintage appeal, really.
It is a beautiful bus, yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar to the Routemaster, but it's different.
Yeah.
It looks a lot lower capacity.
Yeah, it is slightly lower capacity, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't look as long as a... Yeah, it looks almost like the size of a sort of a long wheelbase van, if you like day standards.
Well, the length would actually be about the same, 27.5 foot, yeah. So...
Yeah.
7 foot 6 inches wide.
See, like I said before. Oh, sorry. Complete change of subject. Chris Campling has just said, "Surprise, surprise! England lost." F.
Oh.
Yeah.
Have they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of disappointed English people.
It's a
yeah,
shame.
yeah.
What
Oh, that's
I
good.
was quite annoyed actually because there's quite a lot of Welshmen walking around Newport with England flags draped around them. I'm like, you're not English.
No, but it is sad, but we were close, very close.
Yeah,
I mean,
semi-finals.
England were criticised for taking a lot of youngsters. Now, if the youngsters are capable of getting the team to the semi-finals, what are they going to be like once they get a bit more experience, a little bit better?
Yeah,
So maybe in 4 years' time.
4 years, yeah.
yeah,
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 no
maybe, yeah.
problems, Chris. It's just going to sit up here for as long as anybody wants it. But I would advise watching it because I think it's been a really good show.
Yeah, it's been brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, the last question I'm going to ask you, Dave, and this is
yes.
a brilliant question, I hope. Would you be happy to return to the show?
Yes, of course I would. Yes,
You had to think about that one, Dave.
Was it that bad?
No, it would be my pleasure. It would be my if you would have me.
Oh, the pleasure is all ours. And
Oh,
maybe
thank
we'll
you.
actually come up with some questions to ask you rather than doing it all on the hop.
Yeah, well, that's
No,
fine.
but we've had some really good questions today, and yeah, it's been really good.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's you know, I can understand that. I don't know how many people's watching us at the moment, but you can
We're
obviously
on 9
understand.
at the moment, which is we've had higher, but we've
Yeah.
not ever broadcast during the World Cup semi-final before.
I would have thought that was the problem there. Yeah, definitely.
England are only ever live once.
Yeah.
Whereas this is on YouTube forever and a day. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Either that or the show was so bad last week. Oh, we've got to 10 now. So maybe the show was so bad last week. There's 2 or 3 people gone, oh, I can't watch that again. So yeah, it's I've really enjoyed myself. I've gone through so many emotions today. I've gone through disappointment, fear, despair, joy at finding the part that I thought I'd lost.
Yeah.
So it's I now know how people feel when there's a problem with their issue.
Yeah.
Quite a few times I've had small issues which I've been able to fix. But you know, I'm like, okay, well, can I carry on with it? You know, I hope I can. And suddenly there was the part, it got stuck inside another, and it was such a relief. I'm like, oh,
wow,
fantastic.
It was brilliant that you actually found it. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, of all the places for it to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite a large part as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I'll do a quick recap on what we've done. I can't remember which part it is now. This one? This one? Oh no, I've stuck it. Oh wow. There we go. Right. So this is what we've built today, guys. We've first of all, this part was really simple. We just put this cap on. I'm not convinced it's gone on properly. I think that should be more square. You see how it's going at a slight angle.
Yeah.
However, we don't know how it's. Is that a gas pump model behind him? So do we see a gas pump model behind you, Dave?
No.
No.
Behind me, it's all models or modelling.
Right.
All models are modelling. I've actually got a couple of Routemasters here.
Yeah, go on, show us your Routemasters.
In 1/76 scale. So they're made by a company called EFE. Other companies are obviously available and making them, like you'll find them on the net.
Other companies are available?
Yes, they are, yeah. And so there's a London one. I think you can see that all right, can you?
Ish.
Yeah.
But you just got a really sharp focus there.
It's probably me that's. I don't want to move it around too quick, but just to give you the size and scale, really, of what it is, and it's like 4 inches, 5 inches at the most.
Can I just see the bottom of that bus, Dave?
You want to see the bottom?
Yeah, there's like a rail or something on the side.
Underneath?
Oh yeah, I see that.
Just turn it so that we're bringing in the side a bit more.
I like...
There you are. There you are.
Yeah, oh, you mean there?
Yeah.
Lifeguard rail?
Yeah.
Yeah, the lifeguard rail.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to save you going underneath, obviously.
Right.
So we'll have one, I hope, on this Routemasters we're doing, but that's the lifeguard rail.
Have a look.
And then,
do you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
There's a little black rail goes. I'll just pop this.
Yes, that's it there. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. And then this is the livery that I'm going to be doing my second one in.
That is absolutely fantastic. That works so well, doesn't it?
This is the East Yorkshire. It's a vintage livery, really, from 1927. And the livery was kept on until the late 60s and early 70s. And then it eventually petered out with the company. And they went more red and cream. And or poppy and cream, and then they actually own one or two vintage vehicles, and one of them's in this original indigo blue and pale primrose or jonquil cream.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is. So, yeah, just to finish the recap up. So, obviously, we've done this part. We've done this on the... I've forgotten what it is now. See, I sound intelligent. Crankcase, that's it. I sound intelligent. I'm actually reading the magazine. So, and then but we've actually achieved quite a lot. There's... You know, if we were looking at what we get for the money on each issue, that's definitely £9 worth of kit there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So I think we've done really, really well. When people complain about certain issues not being much for the money, and I think sometimes people forget, like when, you know, I've mentioned it before, but when we had the chassis, they were definitely £9 parts, and this is definitely. But I don't see many people going, "Whoa, wow, it's really fantastic value for money today." Yeah, that's an overdone subject now, isn't it? Okay, so I'll give you all about another minute just to come up with any other questions. Ian Mitchell says my favourite part will be when it's finished. Yeah, I think that's going to be quite sad. A few videos I watch of World of Wayne. And a couple of the models that he'd finished, he said that he's got quite sad.
Yeah.
It's finished. And
I saw them.
Yeah, and I can imagine I'll be the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and what are we going to do when we finish part 130? Yeah. What are we going to do with the show? We're building the community up. We're all becoming like really good close friends.
Yeah.
And then it's all goodbye, isn't it?
No, we'll have to find another model to do.
Yeah. Have to find another one.
I'm just going back as well. Forgive me if you've already brought this up. Ian Mitchell said earlier that we need to be using Loctite on the screws.
Right. Is that the glue?
Yeah, it's that blue stuff that you put on. It's like thread lock.
Right.
Thread lock,
yeah. Yeah, I mean that I've heard of that, and I hear that's really good stuff because you can undo the screws, but it holds them. It's like a sort of a
temporary glue, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'll be interesting, like how many people actually use the Loctite.
Yeah.
I think unless it's going to vibrate, I don't think we're going to have a problem because you normally use Loctite on things that are going to be handled a lot or vibrating.
Yes.
So unless there is going to be a motor in there that runs something,
yeah,
I don't think it's going to really be necessary for me, because mine's just going to sit on a shelf.
yeah. I also think it depends on how can't think of the right word to use, but how much of an enthusiast you are and what the purpose is. Like you say, if yours is going to sit on the shelf, you want to build a nice nice magazine model, put it on the shelf. That's fine. People like Dave, who are going to be taking their models to shows, they just want to take it up an extra level.
Yeah.
You know, it might be worth thinking about that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Also thinking about carrying cases as well.
Yeah.
There is actually a model somewhere knocking about on the internet that is actually a Routemasters that's been scratch built, and it does look as though he has a carrying case for it, and so that'll be interesting if I can find more information on that.
Well, I actually came up with an idea today. Funny enough, as I was coming into the depot on my last run, I don't know if it's a crazy idea. I've not given it a lot of thought, but rather than having a carrying case, maybe have a diorama. So perhaps build up two sides of the case, to the display case, to look like the garage, and then put some,
Wow,
like,
yeah,
for example, some trolley lifts. So then you don't have to worry about the corners where the glass is. You're just going to get some like
yeah,
scale corrugated steel or something,
yeah,
and then where the entrance to the, where the cutout bit is, and obviously we'll slide a bit of glass in there. But the drawback with that is that you can only actually view the model from one angle.
yeah,
But maybe we can get some 1:12 scale mechanics. Maybe buy a couple of the issues that had wheels and just have a few wheels piled up, and
yeah.
make it look like it's in the garage being maintained or something. And then that would solve
What
the
a brilliant
problem.
idea.
Yeah, I haven't planned it or anything. It was just, I was actually coming into the depot at the end of the day, and I looked in, because what it is, our Leyland is in maintenance at the moment, and it was like, oh, what about that? Because they have a separate section of our depot that is for the Leyland, and
Yeah,
it looks like a massive carry case,
yeah,
display case, and that's where I thought of the idea.
yeah.
That's a brilliant idea, yeah.
Excellent, yeah, yeah, excellent. It would be quite.
Right, okay. Sorry?
It would be quite heavy.
Oh God, well, it's going to be heavy anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Might as well go out for a sheep as for a lamb. That's my auntie says. Yeah, it's going to be heavy. Let's just make it impossible to lift. Let's just go the whole hog on it.
Why not?
Yeah, bricks made out of brick. No, let's make them out of lead. Right, guys, you have, as always, been a wonderful audience. It's been a fantastic show. Oh, we haven't had a look at next week, have we?
Oh,
So
no.
let's do that now, and we'll close out the show. So, I don't know if it's worth us looking at these anymore, because they don't come out anything like the picture, do they? So we've got some kind of fan going on the end there. This is obviously parts that we've already built. I'll put my bits away now, haven't I?
See, so that looks like the radiator fan.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a comparison side. Let's go in. There we go. So it looks like we're going to be putting something on the end there. But there's the picture. And the description says, working on the crankcase, further parts are fitted to the sides and the two halves are joined together. And looking where we've got screw holes that haven't got anything in, we've got 4 screw holes there, and we've got 1 there, and we've got 2 there, 1 there. But that looks like some kind of push fit connectors that go into that one. We've got a screw hole there and 1 there. That might just be to connect it to the chassis. And we've got a couple of possibly screw holes or just locators there.
There'll be engine mountings.
Yeah. So yeah, so it will look something like probably something going on the front there next week.
Yeah,
I think.
brilliant.
So, and we have a 1959 driver recruitment poster coming. In fact, actually, I'm going to have a quick look through the magazine. Hey, Steve-O, how are you? 6+ Steve-O has probably one of the best intros I've ever seen on his YouTube videos. He does wargaming videos. And it's just, obviously with games, when you use dice, certain dice rolls are really good. I just love the way he just rolls these 2 dice. And he rolls a double one and he goes, oh. And I just think that's perfect. So some really good pictures coming out of the magazine today. As you know, I'm a little bit biased towards pictures of buses. I mean, Churchill. Who cares about Churchill when you've got buses? And then we've got an article on the home front in World War One. So more emphasis on women in the workplace. We've got another poster there to recruit for female bus conductors. Height must not be less than 5 foot. Ages, I wonder why they had an age range of 21 to 35. What's wrong with a 40-year-old bus conductor? You know? But this is where all the social history. This is another B-type bus. I do regret I had the Airfix B-type bus, and I gave up building it. But I kind of half regret that now. But there were so many problems with it. There's a picture there of a newly trained team of 89 women in their blue uniforms, and then another article there, and there's the posters of the week, which I do like the posters. Steve, 6+ Steve says that intro is very close to reality when I game. Yeah, we know that feeling. We all get those. You can be rolling 6s all day long, and when you really, really need a 6, out will come the double one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then next week's issue. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the work. I do look at the posters. And then more technical stuff about the engine, other elements attached to the A-frame and family. So yeah. So thank you for watching, peeps. As always, enjoy your company. Big thank you to Dave for giving up some of his valuable time.
You're welcome.
I know that there's lots of stuff you could be getting on with, and you've chosen to give up some of your time for us. We will try to get somebody else on the show as well, hopefully regular. And obviously we'll keep updates with Horlicks's builds. And hopefully soon I'll be able to start doing some work on my new port builds. So, excuse me, sorry, just broke my nose a bit. So yeah, so commiserations to any England fans out there. And thank you to everybody else. So I've been Penny, we've had Horlicks, and we've had Dave Say. So thank you very much, guys. I'll see you all next week.
Yep, see you later.